The rain has not stopped in 7 days. It seeps through the roof of your thatched hut, slides down your spine like the cold finger of a forgotten ghost. Beneath your knees, the soil that once fed your family has turned to blackened sludge. The rice seedlings drown quietly, as if even they have given up. You wake before the sun, again. The air is sour with damp straw and smoke. Your children sleep in silence, lips cracked, ribs showing like the ribs of a worn-out basket. In the distance, the castle bells toll. Taxes will be collected today, and all you have to offer is mud. What would you give to see your family survive another season? If this story chills your heart or stirs your soul, tell me, could you have endured a year like that? Subscribe to join us as we wander through forgotten worlds, and share your thoughts in the comments below. The mist coils low over the rice fields, thick, damp, and slow-moving, as if the mountain itself were exhaling after a long night. It does not lift with the light. Instead, it clings to the hillsides, and hangs in the hollows like a ghost too tired to leave. You rise before the sun, as always, not because you are ready, but because the rhythm of survival does not wait for readiness. The walls of your hut are soaked with breath and dew. Your breath floats before your face, white, shallow, fading. The air inside is so cold, even the fire hesitates to wake. Outside, the world is grey. Inside, the firewood is damp, and the straw mat beneath you carries the scent of mildew and sweat. Your wife's hands, thin, veined, and trembling, reach for the flintstones. Sparks dance in the dark. She winces at each breath, but says nothing. There are no words left for this kind of cold. The rooster does not crow loudly. His voice is dull, swallowed by the fog. Somewhere beyond the fields, you hear the slow creak of a wooden cart, the wet slap of sandals on stone. Someone else is awake. Someone else is burdened by the same endless day. You stand, your joints resist. The bones in your knees whisper warnings. Old friends, you can no longer afford to ignore. Still, you wrap your feet in strips of worn cloth, then step into the world beyond your threshold, a world made of water, silence, and soil. The mud greets you first. It pulls at your legs with a hunger all its own, sucking at your ankles, resisting each step like a child, clinging to its mother. The earth is no longer earth. It is memory of rain that never ended, of seeds that never sprouted, of seasons that turned but offered no harvest. You bend down, your hand disappears beneath the surface, searching for something sturdy, a root, a sign, a promise. But all you find is wetness and decay. The seedlings, thin, green threads of hope, stand crooked and shivering in the windless morning, too young to survive, too stubborn to die. You move between them, careful not to crush the ones still clinging to life. Your hands are raw already, chapped from days of cold water and friction. Each stalk must be checked. Each must be straightened, nudged, whispered to. The fog thickens. By now, the sun has risen, or should have. The sky glows pale behind the clouds, but no warmth comes through. Your back is bent low. Your breath comes in short, shallow gasps. Each movement feels like a sacrifice. Behind you, in the hut, your children stir. A cough, a cry, then silence again. They know not to come outside until the rice is counted and the fire is fed. They know to wait. A crow caws from the treetop. You glance up, and for a moment it seems like the only creature left with enough voice to shout. The crow does not stay long. It takes flight, wings slicing the air, vanishing into the grey. You press your palm against the stalks. They tremble beneath your touch. Not from fear, but from no. You once believed the land was sacred, that hard work could turn soil into sustenance, labor into legacy. But now, the land feels like a god, grown tired of prayers. It watches you, but does not answer. It listens, but does not speak. You do not cry. There is no time for crying. Only counting. Only motion. Only the quiet, endless rhythm of the farmer's morning. Dig, straighten, wipe your brow. Begin again, and so you do. You do not look at the mountain, the one that cradles the village, the one the elders say holds the spirits of ancestors. You used to bow to it. You used to offer rice at its shrine. Now, you only bow to the mud. Hours pass, or perhaps only moments. In this fog, Time drips slowly, like a leaky gourd. Your stomach grumbles, but you ignore it. Breakfast can wait. Hunger always waits, until it is tired of waiting. Finally, you straighten. Your back screams in protest. Your feet are numb, but the field is ready. Or, as ready as it will ever be. You walk back to the hut. Your wife greets you with a nod. Her hair is tied back with a strip of frayed linen. She does not smile. She hands you a bowl, not of rice, but of barley porridge. Thin, grey, barely warm. You eat in silence. Across from you, your daughter counts the firewood. Your son sharpens a stick into a hoe. They are small, too small for labor, but they work anyway. This is your life. This is the beginning of another year. The land does not wait. The mud does not forgive. And the fog, it never lifts. It only deepens. If this chapter stilled something in your heart, consider subscribing. Stories like these sleep in the corners of forgotten time, and I'd be honored to walk them with you. What part of this morning felt most familiar to you? The wind shifts with the season. It carries the scent of ripened rice and drying thatch, of firewood crackling low, of something older, a memory perhaps, or a warning. The harvest moon hangs swollen in the sky, round and golden, watching over your village like a silent judge. It should be a time of fullness. Once, long ago, this was the season of laughter, of children running between sheaves stacked like temple spires, of songs rising from throats warmed by sake, and the shared pride of a job complete. The moon would shine on smiling faces, on bowls filled with white grain, on hands sticky with sweet rice cakes. But not this year. This year, the harvest was thin. The stalks bowed low, but not from abundance. Many never ripened. The floods came too early, the sun too late. The ears were pale, brittle, some hollow. When the cutting was done, when every bundle had been counted and dried, you stood before the heap, smaller than any you remember, and felt your breath catch in your chest. There would not be enough. Still, you tell your son it will be all right. You place a hand on his shoulder, bony now beneath his tunic, and smile with a mouth that no longer believes in such things. He asks if there will be a festival this year. You tell him maybe. You do not tell him that the drums will remain silent, that there is no rice to spare for pounding, no sake to brew, no meat to roast over fire. Instead the rats come. They creep beneath the granary floorboards, sharp-eyed and quiet. You hear them at night, their teeth clicking against wood, their bodies scraping against the storehouse walls. You rise with a torch and chase them, but they vanish before you reach the door. One morning, you find a small hole chewed clean through a sack, grain, gone. Just enough to feed a child for 2 days. You want to weep, but there are no tears left in your body, only sweat. The tax collector comes in 4 days. You measure the sacks again and again, counting aloud though your daughter already knows the numbers by heart. She watches you, her fingers curled around the strap of her sandal. Her face is unreadable. That night, you boil millet. It is bitter, dry, and hard to swallow. But you make a show of chewing slowly, savouring every bite. Your son asks for a second bowl. You look at him, the shadows of firelight playing across his cheeks. His lips are cracked, his eyes too large for his face. You tell him, softly, tomorrow. He nods and lays his bowl down. Your wife sits beside you, silent. Her back is curved from years of field work. She leans against the post and closes her eyes. You know she is not asleep, only gathering the strength to endure another hunger. In the corner, your youngest daughter stirs. Her stomach growls. You hear her mutter in her sleep, something about dango. Sweet dumplings she hasn't tasted in over a year. Her hands twitch as if reaching out to catch them. The fire burns low. The smoke spirals into the rafters, dances between the beams, slips through the thatch like incense escaping a prayer. The air smells of ash and boiled millet, a scent you have come to hate. You lie on your side. The straw mat beneath you is damp from yesterday's storm. You can hear the wind outside, brushing against the walls like a ghost trying to find its way in. The moonlight spills through the cracks, silver and sharp. You think of your father. He used to say the moon was a farmer's companion, always watching, always keeping time. When it rises full and clean, he told you once, you'll know you've done enough. You stare at it now, that ancient, patient eye in the sky. It sees everything. The sacks half filled, the rats, the lies you will tell the collector. The way your children lean into each other at night, cold and hungry. The way your wife's breath stutters as she sleeps. You reach for her hand. It is dry, rough as bark, but warm, still warm. And you close your eyes with that small mercy, because that is what it means to be a farmer, in this land, in this time. To plant hope where none should grow. Not in a rush, not in force. They come as if the land itself has permitted their passage, slow, sure, and without apology. Hooves strike the damp earth like drums, muffled by morning dew. The mist hasn't yet lifted, but their silhouettes are clear, tall, broad, polished, steel where your world is straw. The retainer leads them, a man who never bends, never looks down, never once makes eye contact. His robe is clean. His hands do not know the feel of a plough. His voice cuts through the stillness like a blade pulled across silk. He reads from a scroll, names, holdings, dues. His assistant, a younger man with ink-stained sleeves and tired eyes, nods and records. The numbers fall like stones into a well, one by one, without echo, without resist. You stand with the others, in line, silent. In your hands is the offering, 2 sacks of rice, thinned with barley to make weight, carefully tied. You've measured it 5 times. You know it is not enough, but it is everything. When your name is called, you step forward, you bow, deeply. Your hands tremble slightly, not from fear, not exactly, but from the sharp awareness of your children, waiting back home, counting on your return. The retainer does not bow. He flicks his hand. A soldier steps forward. Ashigaru, light infantry, armor scuffed from patrol, eyes dull from duty. He lifts your sacks, weighs them without words, then looks to the retainer. The judgment is quick. 1/3 of the harvest required. Yours is less. Penalty, the retainer says flatly. You open your mouth, a protest, not of rebellion but of necessity, catches in your throat. My daughter is ill. You begin, voice low, cracking. The fields are the Lord's, he interrupts. Your daughter is not. The soldier places one hand on the hilt of his sword. Not drawn, not needed. The gesture alone is enough. You bow again, this time lower, slower. Shame fills your mouth like ash. From behind, you hear another man mutter a prayer. Another whispers a name. The line behind you shifts. You are not the only one short, but the punishment is yours alone in this moment. They take an extra sack, one stored for winter, one your wife sewed shut with careful stitches while the children slept. You watch it disappear into the cart with the others, a creaking pile of survival stripped bare. They move on. No thanks, no farewell, just the sound of hooves on wet stone, of wheels creaking beneath stolen weight, of a banner flickering red and gold against the grey sky. You catch your reflection in the steel of a passing breastplate, a hollow face, a man whose name was called, whose field was counted, whose sacrifice was neither seen nor spared. By midday the square is empty again. Only the ruts from the cart remain, shallow grooves in the road, soon to be washed away by rain. The villagers disperse slowly, like leaves after wind. No one You walk home on sore feet. The path is familiar, but today it feels longer. At the edge of your hut, your son waits. He watches your hands, sees what you do not carry. He doesn't ask. He only turns and walks inside. You follow. Inside, your wife does not move. She continues stirring the pot over the fire. A pot that now must stretch further, taste thinner, last longer. Her eyes flick toward the doorway, then down. She doesn't speak either. You sit. The fire crackles. You listen to the silence, not of peace, but of resignation. The same silence that fills the temple when offerings run out. The same silence that stretches across the fields in times of drought. In your mind, you count again. What's left? What's owed? What cannot be replaced? That night, you dream of blades, not drawn in anger, but gleaming as they pass indifferent and cold, reflecting your family's hunger without knowing it. And in that dream the tax collector's voice echoes. Your daughter is not. You wake before the rooster. You do not move. You watch the smoke rise from the fire, curling upward like a soul departing through the roof. Another morning begins. With But you rise anyway, because the field still needs tending. Because the soil, though merciless, does not yet spit you out. Because your hands are not yet empty, even if the granary is. The cry comes just before sunrise, a sharp, rising sound that cuts through the fog like a blade through silk. It is not the scream of pain nor warning. It is loss. You hear it as you step from your hut, breath already clouding in the chill. It comes from your neighbor's home, a low, sagging dwelling near the stream, where moss creeps between the roof tiles and smoke rarely curls from the hearth. You hurry across the narrow path of planks that spans the irrigation ditch, your feet wrapped in straw that does little to keep the cold away. The mud is thick and sluggish. The frogs are silent. Even the birds seem to be holding their breath. At the gate, you find the man kneeling. His hands are covered in straw and blood, though neither is his. A broken rope lies coiled beside him. The pen is empty. The ox is gone. You know what this means? Everyone does. In a village like yours, an ox is more than muscle. It is future. It is winter's rice and next year's planting. It is half a harvest before the first seed is sown. Without it, the fields become enemies, vast, unyielding, and cruel. You kneel beside him. His name is Kenji, a man older than you by 10 winters, but weathered as bark, and twice as quiet. He does not look at you. We tied it tight, he whispers. Fed it first. Let it sleep under the thatch. You nod. It doesn't matter. What's gone is gone. Some say it was stolen. Bandits? Another village? Someone hungry enough to gamble death for hooves and hide? Others whisper that it wandered off, lured by scent or fear or something worse. But you don't ask. Instead, you offer your hands, because without a plough, Kenji cannot till. And if Kenji cannot till, the field to the east will lie fallow. And if that field lies fallow, the rest of the irrigation will be thrown off balance, and your own plot will flood when the rains come. In this village, one man's burden is everyone's drought. So you gather your tools. Your son follows, carrying a hoe too large for his frame. Kenji's eldest joins as well, face pale with shame, but determined. No one says it, but they all know. Shame means nothing when mouths are empty. By mid-morning, the three of you are in the field. The earth is heavy. Each step is like wading through regret. The weeds are eager, as if sensing weakness. You slash at them with the blade, sweat slicking your back, despite the chill. The sun creeps upward, but warmth does not follow. Your hands blister. Your spine bends until it trembles. But still, you do not stop. In the distance, women hang laundry between trees. Children gather kindling and stare silently. A dog barks once, then falls quiet. Above all of it, the whisper spreads. The ox is gone. The ox is gone. It moves like smoke. You hear it behind closed shutters, feel it in bowed heads and passing glances. No one blames Kenji, but they do wonder what comes next. That night, you return home so stiff you can barely unlace your sandals. Your wife brings you a cloth soaked in warm water. She wipes your arms gently, then lays her forehead to your shoulder. She does not speak. Her silence holds gratitude and worry. Your daughter sets out the evening meal. It is thinner than before, just broth, with a few softened radishes. Your son eats slowly, watching you. He doesn't ask what happened in the field. He already knows. After the meal, you hear your wife whispering near the back wall. You peek around the partition. She is at the shrine. A tiny space, just a plank, a bowl of salt, and a cracked statue of Inari, the rice kami. In her hands, she holds the last of the dried sardines, the ones meant for the new moon, the ones your daughter had hidden in cloth and stashed for hard times. She places them in the bowl with care. Her head bows low. Her voice is too soft to hear. You do not stop her. The firewood crackles as you return to your mat. The air is cold. The roof creaks. But for a moment you close your eyes and imagine a world where prayers do not vanish. A world where gods still listen. And maybe, just maybe, an ox finds its way home. It begins with the scent of smoke. Not the comforting kind. Not wood seasoned and slow burning in the hearth. Not the scent of pine resin curling through a winter hut. This is different. Acrid. Sharp. Panic hidden behind flame. It catches in your throat before you've even stepped outside. You open the door just as the shouts rise from down near the stream. There is fire. You run, feet bare, soles biting into the gravel path. Others run too. Neighbors, elders, a child clutching a wooden bucket too large for his arms. The sky above the stream flickers orange, pulsing behind the curtain of early mist. Sparks shoot upward like startled birds. It is the old woman's hut. She lived alone. Her name, long forgotten by most, was whispered more often as a caution than a blessing. She was kind, but quiet. Known more for the smell of herbs that clung to her sleeves than for any conversation. You remember her giving your wife ginger when the baby was born. You remember her smiling without teeth. Now her home is a pyre. By the time you arrive with your bucket, the roof has already collapsed inward. Straw blackens as it curls. Wooden beams crack like bones in the heat. Someone throws water. It hisses, vanishes into steam. Too little, too late. The hut groans as if sighing and sinks into itself. No one speaks for a moment, just breathing. Just the rush of the stream nearby, uncaring. You search the faces. The elder who brought water, the boy who fell, your own son, silent beside you. But the old woman is not there. Later they will search the ashes. They will find fragments, scorched combs, the edge of a sandal, a clay pot, shattered by heat. But not her. Some will say she ran. Some will say the fire took her too fast. Others will look to the sky and say nothing. You stand with your bucket still full, hands trembling. She was alone. She had no kin, but she had a name, a place, a fire of her own, and now, only. The village gathers the next day, in silence. The elder burns incense at the temple. The smoke rises gently, curling like a soul not quite ready to leave. You bring what you can, a bundle of firewood from your own winter stock. It was meant to last your family through the month, but now it lies stacked beside the site where the hut once stood, waiting to rebuild something, anything. Your wife does not question your offering. She merely nods, wraps her shawl tighter around her shoulders, and holds your daughter close. That night, the wind howls. Your own roof moans in the gusts. You patch it with reed mats and layered straw, but it leaks all the same. A slow, steady drip that lands just beside where your son sleeps. You shift him to the other side of the mat. He doesn't wake. His body is too tired, too thick. Rain falls like memory. Soft, persistent, familiar. You lie awake listening, not to the storm, but to what's missing. The old woman used to chant at night, not loudly, just under her breath. Songs passed down from mountain spirits, prayers with no words, just hums and rhythm. They used to drift up the hillside like wind through bamboo. Now there is only the sound of rain on a leaking roof, and a child's shallow breath. You rise and light a candle. At the shrine, you place a single rice ball on the wooden plate, not for a god this time, for her, for what she was, and what was lost. The flame dances gently, the smoke curls upward, carrying your silence. The next morning, your wife stands at the edge of the field, looking east. The hut is gone. In its place, a ring of blackened earth. The stream flows beside it, unchanged. She does not speak, but her eyes are distant. You walk to her, stand beside her. For a moment the two of you say nothing. Then she takes your hand, not tightly, but firmly, like holding on to something not meant to last. You squeeze back. Winter has not yet come, but it is watching. It waits beyond the horizon, behind the clouds, beneath your floorboards. You can feel it in the way the light slants earlier, in the breath of wind that carries no warmth. You know what's coming. But for now, you hold your wife's hand and watch the ashes cool. The frost comes quietly without warning. It creeps in during the night, like a thief. Not of things, but of warmth, of breath, of the silent comforts that once softened the edges of each morning. It does not howl or slam its fist. It glides, it waits, and when you wake, it is already inside. You open your eyes to stillness, the kind of silence only the dead or the deeply sleeping know. Your breath escapes in pale plumes. The thatched roof above you is dusted with white, not snow but a thin skin of frost that clings like regret. Each stalk shivers gently as the wind nudges them from above. You reach for your sandals, but pause. Even the floor seems brittle, as if it might shatter beneath your steps. Outside, the world is silver. The trees wear ice like cracked lacquer. The stream is stiff, coated in a fragile film that glimmers when touched by the weak light of the rising sun. Birds are gone, the frogs silent. Only your own heartbeat fills the morning air, slow, heavy, echoing in your ears. You crouch beside the hearth. The ashes are cold. You poke them with a stick. No ember remains. The fire has died. You knew it would, last night, when the last piece of firewood hissed and cracked and turned to smoke. You'd hoped the blanket of bodies, woven straw, and shared breath would be enough. But now your youngest is coughing. You turn to her. Her lips are dry, her cheeks sunken. She shivers beneath the blanket, her tiny hands curled beneath her chin. She doesn't cry, she hasn't in days. She coughs in short bursts, each one weaker than the last. You place your hand on her forehead. It is warm, too warm. Your wife is already at the corner, kneeling near the water basin. She dips a cloth, wrings it out, and lays it gently on the child's brow. Her fingers move with tenderness, but her eyes are hollow. You know what she fears. You fear it too. The fire must be relit. You take the axe and step outside. The frost crunches beneath your feet. Not a sound so much as a sensation, sharp and final. The trees are stiff, the ground cruel. Most of the fallen branches are damp, useless. You search deeper into the woods, every breath like a blade down your throat. You find one dry limb, barely enough for half a day. Still, it is something. Back at the hut, you break it down, slowly, carefully. Each strike of the axe rings louder than it should, as if the world itself is brittle now. Your son kneels beside you, watching. You hand him a splintered piece. He carries it with reverence, as though it were treasure. Your wife has wrapped your daughter in a second blanket. The fever has not broken. Her breathing is shallow. The cloth has cooled. You ring it again, whispering something, perhaps a prayer, or just a name. No God answers. You manage to spark the fire. It begins reluctantly, licking at the wood, like a beggar at a locked gate. But it grows. Small flames, slow flames, enough to warm the room if not the world. You feed it everything you have. The smoke curls upward, soft and thin, wrapping around your fingers as if offering comfort. You cup your hands near the heat, then place them gently against your daughter's feet. They are cold as river stone. The day passes with few words. Outside, the frost does not melt. It deepens, creeps up the walls, slips beneath the door frame, finds the cracks between roof and beam, and settles there. Inside, the fire glows, not brightly, not proudly, but bravely. At dusk, your wife hums, a low sound, without words. A lullaby from her mother, passed down like cloth, worn thin but cherished. The melody is simple, rising and falling like breath. She rocks the child in her arms, even though the fever makes her limbs stiff. You watch from across the room, your son curled beside you, too tired to eat, too scared to sleep. You close your eyes, only for a moment, and in that moment, the frost presses against the walls. It waits, patient and without mercy, because tomorrow is coming, and with it, whatever cold it may carry, so too comes the will to endure. You rise before the sun. The frost has thickened overnight. It clings to the rim of your water jar, to the fibers of your sleeves, to your eyelashes. Even your breath feels heavier, not just from the cold, but from the weight of things unsaid. Your daughter's fever still lingers. She sleeps now, her forehead damp from another cloth soaked in cooled tea. Her breath is shallow, lips slightly parted. Your wife sits beside her, half awake, her head bobbing now and then in exhaustion. You place your hand on her shoulder. She leans into your touch, just for a moment, then exhales. You pick up your axe. Outside, the morning is breathless. No birds, no rustle of wind. Just stillness, white and waiting. The trees beyond the stream are bare, limbs stretched skyward like pleading hands. You cross the path alone, crunching over brittle leaves and frozen mud. The forest greets you with silence. You walk deeper, searching for fallen limbs, anything dry enough to burn. Most of what you find is damp, sodden from frost. But you collect it anyway because even smoke is better than nothing. A monk. He is seated beneath a pine tree, legs folded, hands resting lightly on his knees. His robes are simple, faded ochre, patched and frayed. His hair is shaved to the scalp. He looks like a reed in winter, thin, fragile, but still standing. You hesitate, he does not move. For a moment you wonder if he is asleep, or meditating, or frozen. They are not the eyes of someone waiting to die. They are clear, old, like stones polished by river water. You take a cautious step forward, and he gestures, slow and open, for you to see. You do. There are no introductions, no names exchanged, just silence, shared and understood. After a while he unwraps a small cloth from within his robe. Inside are 2 rice balls. Simple, plain, wrapped in pickled leaves. He holds one out to you. You hesitate. He nods. You accept it, bow your head, and take a bite. The rice is cold, but clean, soft. For a moment, tears well in your eyes. Not from sadness, but from the sudden memory of flavor, of something made by hands not your own. In return, you speak your daughter's name, just her name. Nothing. He nods again, closes his eyes, and begins to pray. There are no words in his prayer, only breath, rhythm, silence. His hands rest on his knees, unmoving. His shoulders do not rise or fall. The prayer is not meant for you, nor for her, nor even for the gods. It is simply what he carries. When he finishes, he opens his eyes and meets yours. Then, without a sound, he stands, adjusts his robe, picks up his walking stick, and disappears between the trees. No goodbye, no blessing, no promise. You sit there a long while after he leaves. The rice ball is gone, but its warmth lingers, faint as breath on your fingers. You gather the rest of the wood. It is heavier now, not from weight, but meaning. You carry it across the frozen stream, back toward the hut where your family waits. The sky is beginning to darken again, as it always does too early this time of year. Inside, the fire has not yet died. You kneel, feed the flames, and hold your hands over the growing light. Your wife watches. You do not explain. You only nod toward the corner, where a small cup now rests beside your daughter's mat. Inside it is a single white grain of rice, and a folded leaf, a trace of something real, ashes in the wind. The stew boils slowly, each bubble rising like a breath caught in the throat. The air is thick with its scent, not the aroma of spice or sweetness, but something harsher, earthy, sharp, a mixture of boiled root and vinegar, of old radish and dried greens, picked too young. The fire beneath it is small, fed with branches barely dry enough to burn. You stir it carefully. The wooden ladle creaks against the pot. Behind you, your son watches, his eyes tracking each turn of your wrist, each dip and rise of the broth. He does not ask what's inside, he already knows. The children eat first. Your daughter, propped up on a folded mat, lifts her bowl with trembling hands. Her fever has not broken, but her eyes are clearer today. Her spoon moves slowly, but steadily. Your son finishes his portion in 5 bites, then rests the bowl in his lap, not daring to ask for more. There is no more. You divide the rest into 2 smaller bowls, one for your wife, one for yourself. She eats without comment, face blank, spoon moving rhythmically. The stew is sour, the vinegar helps preserve it, but it does nothing for hunger. It is food in name only. Still, it is warm. And for now, that is enough. You eat in silence. Outside, the wind tugs at the shutters. The light has faded again. Early, winter deepens its grip with every breath. The walls of the hut seem thinner each day, the air colder, the world smaller. You finish the last of the stew. The taste lingers, bitter, with a trace of ash from the fire. It reminds you of something, a meal long ago, shared in your mother's house, before the wars, before the land was taxed beyond breaking, before everything changed. She had cooked burdock root that night, mixed with miso and millet. You were barely old enough to hold your own bowl, but you remember her voice, soft and steady. You remember the way she laughed when you spilled broth on your tunic. That laugh, clear as wind chimes, echoes in your chest now, a sound you haven't heard in decades. You glance across the fire at your wife. She is staring at the door, not blankly, but with purpose. Her mouth is tight, her eyes sharp. You know what she's thinking. You've been thinking it too? What happens if the child doesn't recover? What happens if the stew runs out? You don't speak. Words would only break the fragile balance of this moment. The warmth, the food, the illusion of enough. Instead you reach for her hand. She doesn't pull away. Her fingers are cold. Yours are calloused, cracked from frost and work. Still, they fit together, not perfectly, but honestly. The fire crackles. Your son yawns, then curls into his mat. Your daughter lies back, eyes closing slowly, the fever still tracing shadows across her brow. Your wife rises to lay a damp cloth over her chest. She hums a note or two, just enough to stir memory. You clean the pot. The water in the bucket is half frozen. You chip away at the top with the ladle, then scrub gently. The sound of cloth against clay, of breath against steam, fills the silence like a lullaby. Outside, a fox cries in the distance. Short, sharp, lonely. You set the pot down near the hearth. From what you do not yet know. Perhaps wild greens, if you can find any. Perhaps bark, soaked until soft. Perhaps nothing at all. You lie down beside your son. The straw beneath you crackles. The wind sighs through the roof slats, searching for gaps. Your eyes close slowly, heavy with more than sleep. And still, beneath it all, the hunger, the quiet, the bitter taste of roots. You carry one small ember of memory, a stew rich with burdock and miso, your mother's laughter, a bowl too full to finish. You hold on to it, like warmth cupped in your palms. Because sometimes memory feeds more than food ever could. It begins with the old man in the hut by the cedar grove. He stops tending his fire, his chimney once marked by thin ribbons of smoke, even in the deepest freeze, remains dark for 3 days. On the 4th, a neighbor finds him curled beneath a pile of blankets, mouth slightly open, eyes closed as if asleep. But there is no breath in his chest. The village does not gather, not for him, not in this cold. But the earth is not softening. The second to fall is a boy, no more than 10, thin, clever-eyed, always quick with his feet during harvest season. He'd been helping gather wood near the mountain's edge, took a fall, and came home shivering. Within 2 days the warmth left his limbs. By the 3rd he stopped speaking. His mother never left his side, even when her skin turned blue with cold. And then your wife. It begins with a tremor in her hands. At first you notice only that she pours water slower, her fingers stiff around the ladle. Then she begins to forget the rice soaking too long, the fire left to die mid-meal. You think it's fatigue. But then comes the fever. It rises fast. Too fast. One day she hums softly while washing radish leaves. The next, she cannot lift her head. Her skin is flushed, damp with sweat despite the frost that creeps along the edges of the wall. You boil water. You lay cloths across her brow. Change them when they cool. Repeat the process endlessly. The fire is kept burning now, with anything you can spare. Furniture legs, woven mats, even a small cedar carving your daughter made in the fall. Ash gathers beneath the grate like snowfall inside the home. Barely more than breath. You lean close, gripping her hand, tracing circles with your thumb against her palm. The same way she once soothed your son after a fall. Her eyes are half-lidded. Her lips move, but no sound follows. You speak to her, not loud, not panicked, but steady, as though your voice alone might be enough to keep her anchored. You tell her the children are safe, that the fields are sleeping, that soon the frost will lift. Lies, but necessary ones. Your daughter sits beside you, silently wringing out cloths. Her hands are red and raw. She has stopped crying. Even fear becomes quiet after enough days without change. The healer comes. He is an old man himself, bent at the spine, eyes dull from years of delivering bad news. He brings no medicine, there is none. Just a pouch of bitter herbs and a small charm carved from bone. He lays them by her pillow, touches her wrist, and leaves without asking for rice. Even he knows there's nothing left to give. That night, the cold sharpens. It slides beneath the door, across the floor, through the seams of your sleeves. You bundle her in everything, straw, cloth, woven reed. Still she shivers. Still her breath stutters, shallow and fast. You kneel beside her. The fire flickers low. Outside, the wind moves through the trees like a procession of ghosts. Hollow, steady, eternal. You press your lips to her knuckles and whisper the old prayer, the one your grandmother taught you when your brother died of fever. Not for healing, not for mercy, just for peace. You do not pray to a god. Not now. You pray to the soil, because the cold has spoken her name now. The ground is too hard to break. You try anyway. At first with the spade, the iron tip chipping against the frozen earth, jarring your wrists, sending tremors up your arms. Then with the hoe, swung like a weapon, each strike louder than it is deep. The soil resists. It always has. But never like this. Your breath fogs in thick clouds. Your hands, wrapped in cloth, bleed beneath the fibers. The cold bites harder than any tool. You dig until your knees give out, until the sweat freezes against your back. Still, the hole is shallow, a wound no deeper than a memory. Wrapped in the same woven blanket she used for your children when they were infants. Her face is still, lips pale, eyes closed. You combed her hair with your fingers. You cleaned her hands. Your daughter placed a plum blossom beside her, dried and crumbling, saved from last year's New Year offering. It was all she could find. The villagers stand at a distance, not from fear, but from cold, and from reverence. The elder chants the names, slowly, as though each syllable must be earned. Your wife's name falls last, soft as snow, final as silence. You place the branch into the earth, beside her, not a gravestone, not even a marker, just a branch, curved, knotty, stubborn, like her. It leans to the side, wind pressing against it, bending it, but not breaking it. There are no drums, no incense, only the wind, and your daughter's quiet breath beside you. You take her hand. Your son stands behind you, fists clenched, eyes hidden beneath the shadow of his cap. He does not speak. Not here, not now, but you feel his breath tremble. The village begins to scatter, slowly. People bow, then step away, boots crunching over snow, silence trailing behind them like ghosts. You stay. You watch the clouds drift low, heavy with more snow to come. You watch the frost form patterns across the edge of the grave, like spiderwebs spun by mourning spirits. The wind shifts. You close your eyes. She is not here anymore, but she is not gone. You feel her in the way your daughter presses against you, head buried against your side, in the way your son's hand finally opens and slides into yours, in the branch, fragile, defiant, catching snowflakes on its bare bark. You think of her voice, low and tired, singing lullabies during those long nights when the children were small. You think of the way she wiped your brow that first winter, when you collapsed from hunger in the field. You think of her silence, steady, uncomplaining, filled with more meaning than words ever held. And you whisper her name. Once, for the trees to hear, for the soil to carry deep. When you return to the hut, the fire is still burning, small, weak, but alive. You kneel beside it, feed it the last dry branch. The flame accepts it slowly, curling upward with a breath-like sigh. Your daughter curls beside the hearth. Your son lays out the mats. You sit between them. The hut feels emptier, but not hollow. Grief does not echo in places where love remains. You listen to the wind. You close your eyes. You rest your palm against the floor, the cold seeping in from beneath. And for the first time in days, you let yourself feel it. All of it. The loss, the quiet, and the memory, like the flame, refusing to go out. Spring does not arrive gently. The snow vanishes in torrents. It does not lift or fade. It collapses. The fields flood as if the earth itself weeps. Rivers that once whispered now roar. Bridges, poorly mended from last year's storm, creak under the strain. The paths between homes become streams of muck. Chickens drown in their own pens. Children are warned not to leave the mats. Inside the hut, the air is warmer, but no kinder. Your daughter sleeps more now. Not from illness, but from something deeper. A fatigue planted in the ribs. You check her brow each morning. Still cool, still quiet. But the shadows beneath her eyes remain. When the water recedes enough to see the fields, you go alone. The mud is black, not brown, black. black, like ink, that hides bad omens. It swallows your feet past the ankle. Each step sucks you downward, forcing you to pull up and forward like a swimmer in shallow water. Your hoe sinks on first strike. The earth is not ready, but you dig anyway. It is not planting season. Not yet. But the weeds have begun to creep, and if left alone, they will choke the very hope of rice before the first stalk dares to rise. Your hands ache within minutes. The cold that once froze the skin has given way to something wetter. The ache of rot, of trapped water, of unseen sickness waiting beneath the mud. Your fingers wrinkle. Blisters form in familiar places, but you do not stop. You cannot. You pause only once when a frog leaps across the furrow, startling you. Its skin is bright, its legs strong, a survivor. It disappears into the reeds with ease. For a moment you envy it. Outside, the moon hides behind clouds. The plum tree at the far end of the path has begun to bloom. Just one branch, just a few pink petals. You stand beneath it, silently, fingers wrapped around the haft of your hoe, watching as one blossom catches a breeze and falls. It drops, like a promise made too early. The tree lives, as do you. Inside the hut, your children sleep. The floor is dry, finally. The air smells of rice broth and damp straw, not rot. The fire glows, low and orange, like an eye that refuses to close. You lie beside your son. But spring is stirring, wild, uncertain, broken. It arrives like memory, half-formed, too soon, too late. And though the snow is gone, the cold has not yet left your bones. A simple clink, iron against ladle, ladle against rim, the rhythm of a meal being made, not grand, not generous, but real. The sound echoes in the low space of the hut, mingling with the scent of something long missed, scallions, faint, sharp, green. Your daughter found them by the stream, pushing up through the thawed banks, like shy dancers returning to the stage. She brought them home with pride glowing behind her quiet eyes, her fingers still caked in wet earth. You didn't ask how far she walked. You only washed the dirt away and kissed her forehead. Now the pot sings, not loudly, but with a softness that travels through your chest. The fire crackles low beneath it. Content, you stir slowly, letting the steam rise. Your son crouches beside you, watching intently, asking nothing, as though silence will make the moment last longer. You taste the broth with the tip of your finger. It is not rich. There is no fish, no miso, no rice cakes, but it is warm. The scallions have softened, lending sweetness to the dashi made from boiled kelp and the last flakes of dried bonito you bartered for in winter. Your wife would hum as she cooked. You remember the way she leaned over this very pot, singing softly, a tune passed down from her mother. No words, just sounds, rising and falling like breath through trees. You cannot recall the exact melody, but tonight, you try. A single note escapes your throat. Then another. The pot does not answer, but the song lingers. Your children turn toward you. You keep singing. The bowl is passed from hand to hand. Your son eats first, slurping quickly, eyes wide with the surprise of taste. Then your daughter, slower, pausing between sips, cradling the bowl as though it might vanish. You eat last, not from sacrifice, but from watching. The warmth in your stomach is not just from food, it is from them. Afterward, your daughter gathers the bowls. She wipes each one with cloth, careful not to spill a drop. Your son checks the fire. The hut smells of scallion and wood smoke, a smell you could live in forever. Later, as the sky darkens, you all sit near the doorway. The wind is soft tonight. It moves the tall grasses just beyond the path, brushes the plum tree branches with gentle insistence. The blossoms are fuller now. You watch them sway and shed. The petals land on the roof, on the path, on your daughter's lap. She does not brush them away. Your son leans into your side. "Will we be okay?" he asks. You do not answer quickly. You look toward the fields, toward the ditch you'll clear tomorrow. The seedlings that wait in baskets, the hoe with its splintered grip. You think of the sky, of the frost, of the man with the scroll who will return again in time. Then you place your hand on his head. "We're still here," you say. "That's enough, for now." He nods. He doesn't speak, but his shoulders loosen, and he rests his head against your arm. Inside, the pot cools. You'll scrub it tomorrow. Tonight, it rests, belly full, body warm, its song sung. You sit with your children as the wind dances through plum blossoms, and a silence settles in your chest, not the silence of grief or of hunger, but the rare, tender stillness of a night where nothing is missing. And in the hush, you hear it again, the song your wife used to hum, faint, rising from memory like steam from broth. You hum along, not because it changes the world, but because it fills it. The day begins with the crack of wood, splitting where it should not. You feel it before you hear it, the sudden give in your grip, the way the handle shudders, then fractures beneath your palm. The hoe breaks in two, the iron blade jerks sideways, lodging awkwardly into the mud, and the wooden shaft clatters to the ground like a bone snapped mid-motion. You fall to your knees, not in pain, but in disbelief. You stare at the splintered wood, hands still curled around the air where the tool used to be. The breath leaves your chest as if the blow had struck you instead. There is no second hoe. The one you just broke was your father's, its edge sharpened by 3 generations, its handle worn smooth by sweat and time. You had planned to mend it next season. Now, there will be no next use. Your son approaches slowly. He doesn't speak, only crouches beside you, eyes fixed on the broken shaft. You look at him, then at the field, half-tilled and waiting. The sun is rising behind a veil of clouds. Rain may come, and the seedlings must go in. You pick up the blade and the 2 halves of the shaft. Together they weigh more than they did a moment ago. You walk home in silence. Near the village gate, you see a figure walking slowly down the road, bent slightly at the shoulders, one hand resting on a bundle slung across his back. A wide hat shields his face. His robe is travel-worn, patched in places, the color faded to the hue of old rice paper. He stops when he sees you. "Trouble with the field?" he asks, voice calm, even friendly. You hold up the broken hoe. He nods, eyes narrowing with the knowledge of someone who has seen such things before. "I mend tools," he says, "in exchange for food, or shelter, or a story. A story." You glance at the sun, then at your son, who still stands beside you, curious, then at the broken blade in your hand. You nod. He follows you home. Inside the hut, your daughter offers him tea in the same cracked cup you once reserved for guests. He sits cross-legged, unstraps his pack, and pulls out a small roll of tools, knives, nails, tiny hammers, leather string, a sliver of pine resin. He takes the blade and holds it to the light. "This is old," he murmurs. "Good steel. The handle was ready to go." He does not judge, only works. Your son watches every movement. The man binds the pieces with care, shaving new wood from a branch just outside the hut. He hums a low tune, unfamiliar, lilting, perhaps from another province. "Where do you come from?" your daughter asks softly. He shrugs, far enough to forget, close enough to return. You do not ask more. When the hoe is whole again, he holds it up. "It will last the season, maybe longer, if treated gently." You thank him. He tells them of mountains made of red sand, of rivers so wide you cannot see the far shore, of a city where farmers dance with masks shaped like foxes and lions. Your son listens, eyes wide. Your daughter rests her chin on her knees and smiles softly. When the field is ready, you return to the hut. The man stands. "I'll leave you the repair," he says, placing his palm over the mended hoe, "and the story," and walks away. You watch until he disappears into the trees. "Do you think he'll come back?" he asks. "Maybe," you reply. "Maybe not." But inside, you hope he does. You place the hoe beside the door. It leans there like a promise, not of ease or plenty, but of continuation, of hands that mend, of strangers who ask for stories instead of silver, of tools that break and still are used again. The night breathes gently. For the first time in what feels like years, the wind does not bite. It whispers instead, through the grass, through the trees, through the slats of your roof, with a hush like quiet speech between old friends. You sit outside the hut, legs folded beneath you, your daughter curled against your side. Her breath is warm. Her body, finally, carries no fever. She giggles once, soft and sudden, and points. Fireflies, dozens of them, dancing over the rice field, like falling stars caught just above the earth. Tiny lanterns blinking on and off, weaving their way between reed stalks, drifting slow, drunk on spring. You haven't seen them since your wife died. Back then they came two shy flickers above her burial site, where the pine tree grows. You remember wondering if she had sent them, or if the earth had simply pitied your grief. Your daughter chases them now, barefoot, sleeves rolled, her hair loose and tangled. She twirls, laughing under her breath, arms outstretched like a girl dancing in the snow. Her brother joins her. He doesn't laugh, not at first, but then she catches one, holds it close to his face, and he smiles. Not wide, not long, but true. You remain seated, knees aching, eyes full, and then he comes. The elder. He walks with his usual stiffness, cane tapping the path like a branch striking stone. You haven't spoken since the tax collection. Since he accused you, not directly but with glances of hiding grain, of shame. Tonight he says nothing at first. He stands beside you, watches the children, listens to the quiet. The moon has risen, pale, not full. Its light falls over the field, mingling with the fireflies. The air smells of grass and ash, and something floral, plum blossoms caught on the breeze. He clears his throat. I was harsh, he says. You say nothing, not out of pride. Just waiting. I'd lost 3 grandchildren that winter, he continues, and I needed someone to blame. You nod, slowly. He looks at your children. She chased a firefly once. Just like that, he murmurs. Laughed so hard she tripped and bloodied her chin. She made me carry her the whole way home. You turn toward him. His eyes are wet. I shouldn't have spoken as I did, he finishes. And then the silence returns. But it is not sharp now. It is soft. A blanket laid between words. Your daughter runs back toward you, cupping her hands. Inside them glows a single light, blinking slowly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Give it to him, you say. She looks up at you, then walks shyly to the elder, and opens her palms. The old man bends down, gently, and lets the firefly crawl across his finger. He watches it, breath held. Then he lifts it toward the sky, and lets it go. It hovers for a second, uncertain, then joins the others. A breeze passes through, light, cool, forgiving. You offer the elder a seat. And for a time, the two of you sit there, side by side, knees touching, watching the fireflies drift between the reeds. No debts, no curses, just memory, and breath, and forgiveness. Later you light a small fire outside, just to keep the chill away. The children fall asleep beneath a blanket, heads resting on each other's shoulders. The elder tells a story, one about a monk who traded a bell for a bowl of soup, and how that bell still rings in the mountains if you listen in winter. And the fire crackles on, soft as laughter in the dark. The fields wait, not silently. They never are, but with the hush of something ancient and expectant. The wind moves through the young reeds in whispers. The frogs return to their rhythm. The earth has dried, but not too much. The timing is right. It is planting day. It is cool, not cold, and soft with silt. Your foot sinks just past the ankle, then the other. The field is a mirror. The sky is barely blue, not yet streaked with color, but already it reflects everything above and below. Clouds, birds, breath. You bend. The first seedling rests between your fingers like a strand of memory, thin, green, trembling. You lower it into the mud and press gently. The water ripples outward. The act is small. The meaning is not. You speak her name, your wife. As you press the second seedling into the mud, your son hears you. He doesn't ask. He speaks her name too as he plants his own row. Your daughter follows. And soon her name rises and falls across the field like a prayer sown into the morning light. You do not cry. Not here. Not now. The work is too sacred. Too still. Each seedling is a thread, and this field, a tapestry. You work slowly, methodically. The rows stretch long. Your back burns. The sun climbs. The world brightens. The frogs grow bolder. Your daughter laughs when one hops near her knee. Your son tosses a splash of water toward her in reply. For a moment they forget. You do not. But that is what this is for, not forgetting but remembering properly. You reach the halfway mark by noon. The sun presses down hard. You remove your cap and wipe the sweat from your brow with your sleeve. The cloth is damp. Your fingers are red. The waterline has risen with the heat, lapping at your thighs. You break for a short meal. Rice balls wrapped in cloth, and a single slice of pickled daikon, shared between 3 mouths. Your children eat quickly, feet still submerged in the shallows. The breeze dries your neck. The shade of the tree nearby is small, but enough. Afterward, you return to the rows. By late afternoon, your movement slow. Each seedling feels heavier, the bending harder, the mud stickier, but you do not stop. You cannot. To leave the field unfinished would be to leave her name unsaid. Numbers do not matter in grief, only intention. When the last stalk has been pressed into the earth, you stand. Your spine stretches like a bow unstrung. Your breath is rough. Your hands shake. It shimmers now, not from water alone, but from the life cradled within it. The green shoots wave in the breeze like hands raised in farewell or greeting. The mud clings to your legs like memory, heavy, persistent, honest. You will return each day to check the water level, to clear the weeds, to fend off the birds. But the hardest part is done. The planting is finished. The memory is buried. Not to forget, but to grow. And as the sky darkens with the coming night, and the frogs sing again beneath a rising moon, you whisper her name once more. Just once. Not because she is gone, but because she is still here, row by row, stalk by stalk, rooted in the soil. You stand beside your son and stare. No word had come. No messenger. Only this flag, raised silently, defiantly, as though it had always belonged here. As though the old banner, blue and gold, the one you bowed to since childhood, had never existed. Your son tightens his grip on your sleeve. Not many, They march through the village path, sandals tapping against the stone, armor polished to a mirror sheen. You count the glinting studs on their breastplates, the knots on their spears, the way each blade sits perfectly aligned at their hip. These are not ashigaru, hastily conscripted and ill-fed. These are samurai, the true swords of the domain. The leader rides on horseback. His face is young. Too young, but his eyes carry the weight of someone who's seen fire claim homes, and men beg before steel. He does not speak until he reaches the center of the village, where the well waits beside the shrine. Then from the saddle he calls, "Hear me." The word is enough to hush the birds. "You belong now to Lord Matsunaga of the Eastern Pass," he says. "By order of the Shogun's court, your lands are annexed to his domain." He pauses. No one moves. "You will bow when you see the crest," he continues. "You will offer the same rice tax as before, no more, no less. In return, you will be protected." Protected. The word hangs in the air like mist. From what? From who? He dismounts. His boots press into the earth like stones into a pond, leaving deep, clear impressions. "We will leave 2 men to keep watch," he says. "No other change. Continue as before, but forget the name of your old lord." He looks around, searching faces. Then his eyes land on yours. Deeply. So does your son. Everyone does. Even the elder, though his back barely bends. The soldiers nod. The young leader mounts again, and with a turn of his wrist, they leave. Dust rises behind them, caught in the sunlight like the ashes of old loyalty. You light the fire early, though it costs more wood than you'd planned. Your daughter places a single bowl at the family shrine, as always, but she does not name the gods aloud. Not tonight. The banner still flutters at the gate. You lie awake and listen to the wind push against it, as though the land itself is testing its strength. Your son stirs beside you. How could you? There are rumors. Whispers of fairer taxes, of conscription, of rebellion, of rice fields set ablaze to avoid tribute, of a daimyo who rewards loyalty and punishes doubt. You look at your son's face, still soft, not yet weathered by work. He is growing fast, taller now, his shoulders broader. The age of wooden toys is behind him, and ahead, spears, uniforms, roads that do not lead back. "Sleep," you whisper, and the gate, that once welcomed spirits and watched over harvests, now guards the colors of a man you've never seen, not in peace, but in preparation. Because when the banner changes, the world changes, and though the fields remain the same, The hands that own them do not. They come again at dawn, not with swords drawn or banners high, but with scrolls. Their sleeves are long, clean, stiff with dye, and their sandals do not sink into the mud. Officials, scribes, record keepers, men who carry ink instead of blades, who speak with courtesy but look with calculation. Your daughter sees them first from the path. "They're here," she says, barely above a whisper. You set down your hoe. Your hands are muddy. You wipe them on your knees. Your palms dry and cracked. The field has barely started to wake. The seedlings tender, the water still cold. But there's no time now. You nod to your son, and the two of you begin to walk. At the shrine, a table has been set. The scrolls are stacked in tidy rolls. The ink pots placed with care. The young scribe sharpens a bamboo pen with the precision of someone trained to record truths that may later be used as weapons. His face is soft, but his eyes are old. Each family waits in line. One by one, they step forward, kneel, and answer. Name, age, family size, amount of land under cultivation, number of oxen, number of tools, number of hands able to work. You feel your heartbeat thicken. There are answers you can give, and answers you must not. When your name is called, you step forward and kneel. The senior scribe, an older man with a clipped beard and a voice like polished stone, does not look at you. He speaks to the scroll. Name. You give it. Head of household. You nod. Yes. Children? 2, you say. You hesitate. Your wife's name rises behind your teeth. She is gone. You add, softly. The scribe pauses. Then, with no change in tone, age of children? You answer. The pen scratches across the parchment, crisp and swift. Land? 2 tambo fields. You reply. He stops. 3, he corrects, glancing up now for the first time. You blink. No, you say quietly. The 3rd was my brother's. He died last year. The land was left fallow. He looks back at the scroll, then at another scribe. They whisper. You feel the weight in your knees. I am not harvesting it, you continue. There is no ox. The land is stone now. He raises a hand. It is land, he says. It will be counted. But the soldier standing beside the table shifts. You stop speaking. The scribe makes a note. It is done. They move on. Behind you, your daughter tightens her grip on the cloth she carries. Inside it are millet cakes, meant to be an offering at the shrine. She had been preparing them all morning. Now they sit untouched, forgotten between the folds. Your son is silent. Back at home, you sit by the fire and try to make sense of the numbers. The fields you no longer own will be taxed as though you do. The mouths you must feed will be listed clearly, tallied, watched, and the ink. The ink does not forget. That night, you do not eat. You watch the scrolls in your mind, lines of black script unraveling into the future. You wonder what use it is to know so much about people, when knowing cannot soften their hunger, or raise the dead, or plant rice where only stones remain. Your son asks if you told the truth. You look at him, long and quiet. Yes. Then enough of it. He doesn't ask more. The wind outside rustles the trees, and somewhere a fox yips and runs through the undergrowth, free of ink, of scrolls, of names. But you are not a fox. You are a man with a family, a number, and a field too small to argue. And tomorrow, when they come again, not with questions, but with collection, you will bow again, because now you are written. And written things are harder to erase than spoken ones. The wind carries dust that morning, not petals. It has the smell of road, the kind of road that's been walked by too many feet for too many years. You recognize it the moment it touches your skin. The dryness, the tiredness, the distant scent of sandalwood and sweat. You are crouched in the field, fingers deep in the water, coaxing a stubborn weed from the base of a seedling, when your daughter calls out, "There's someone coming." You look up. It is the tinker, the same man who once mended your hoe, months ago now. Though it feels like a season stolen from another life, his robes are still patched, but newer ones have been sewn over the older tears. His hat is broader, his beard is longer, he walks slower, but his eyes are the same, bright, curious, without fear. You rise and meet him at the gate. He bows low. "I hoped I would find this place again," he says. And for a moment you smile. You invite him in. Inside the hut, tea is boiled. The fire is reluctant, the kettle chipped, but the warmth is real. Your children sit beside him wide-eyed, listening as he shares stories of villages where the snow never came, and valleys where rice grows thick as bamboo, places that sound more like dreams than truths. Then he unwraps a cloth. Inside it is a map, hand-drawn, creased from folding, inked with lines that snake like rivers, symbols pressed in tight clusters, mountains, roads, settlements. At the center is a circle marked with 2 strokes. "This is here," he says. Your daughter leans closer. "And this?" she asks, pointing east. He smiles. "Where I've just come from," he replies. A valley between 2 ridges, forest to one side, river to the other. The land is new, the Lord is kind. You raise an eyebrow. "There are no kind lords." "Perhaps not," he says, "but there are better ones. This one lets the farmers keep half their harvest, more than most. Half. You do not believe it. You want to, but wanting is a luxury." He sees the doubt in your face. "I don't ask you to follow," he says, "only to know." He slides the map across the mat. You don't touch it, but you look. The path is long, over 2 ridges, across old borders, through forest and risk and the unknown. The kind of journey only made when desperation outweighs familiarity. He refolds the map. "I'll be gone by morning," he says, "but I'll leave it. You don't have to look at it again. You don't have to follow it." He sips his tea. But it's harder to dream when you forget where the roads are. Your daughter falls asleep beside the hearth, chin resting on her knees. Your son leans on your shoulder, quiet. The tinker wraps himself in his cloak and lays against the far wall, eyes closed before sleep claims him. You stay awake. You stare at the folded cloth. Later, when the embers are low and the wind presses against the hut, you slide the map into the rafters, tucked where your wife used to hide dried herbs. A place for things meant to be remembered. You may never use it, but it is there. And sometimes the knowledge of a road is almost as powerful as walking it. It begins with the lighting of a single flame, high above the village, where the pine trees grow in tight circles, and the wind whistles like a flute through their branches. The sacred hill comes alive. Once each year, at the season's edge, the villagers climb its path to light the lantern, a ritual older than the oldest name etched into the shrine's gate. It is meant to keep misfortune away. But this year, it feels more like a beacon for lost souls. You carry the torch, not because you asked to, but because the elder pressed it into your hand. "You've endured," he said, his voice steady, "so you carry the light." And so you do. The path is steep, broken in places, softened in others by moss and years. Your feet know the way even when your eyes don't. Behind you, your son walks carefully, one step at a time. Your daughter follows, clutching a cloth bundle close to her chest. Inside it, offerings, rice flour dumplings, dried mushrooms, and a folded paper crane. You reach the top as the sun disappears. The village below is dim, only a few lamps glowing in doorways, the faint smoke of fires curling into the twilight. The rice fields shimmer, dark and wet, the green of the shoots barely visible in the fading light. The shrine is small. Its roof sags at one edge. Moss clings to the stone fox statues like memory, but it stands, as it has always stood, unmoved by time, untouched by empire. You kneel and place the torch beneath the iron basin. Your son hands you a piece of oiled paper, folded tightly, the wind already tugging at its corners. You light it with the flame, then slide it beneath the dry kindling. The fire takes slowly, first a whisper, then a breath, then a voice. The lantern flares. It glows orange and gold, casting long shadows that stretch across the clearing. The trees sway, the shrine creaks, and for a moment the whole world is painted in flickering light. Villagers gather behind you. One by one, they kneel. No words are spoken, only the crackle of flame, the chirp of night insects, the shifting of feet on packed dirt. Some bring offerings, some bring nothing, all bring silence. Your daughter places her bundle at the base of the shrine. Then she steps back, her face soft in the lantern light. She looks up at you, and in her eyes there is something you haven't seen in many months. Peace. Not joy, not safety, but peace. The absence of fear, the stillness in the chest. You sit beside the flame, your knees stiff. Your son places a hand on your back, then sits too. The fire warms your face. The wind brushes your cheek. The pine branches above you sway in rhythm with your breath. The elder begins to hum, a low, wordless tune, bold and slow, passed down like thread through calloused hands. Others join. You do not know the words. You don't need to. The song is not meant to be sung perfectly. It is meant to be carried. You close your eyes. You remember your wife laughing in summer. Your father's hands shaping a bamboo rake. Your brother carving a flute from cedar wood. The old woman who lit incense even in the deepest snow. They are not gone. They are here, in the wind, in the fire, in the soil beneath your knees. You open your eyes. The lantern blazes high now, casting its light across the shrine, across the trees, down the hillside, over the rooftops of your village. It shines on every house, rich or poor, broken or whole. It shines for everyone. The children laugh as they chase one another down the slope, fireflies rising with them like sparks in the dark. Your daughter pulls at your sleeve. "Will the fire keep us safe?" she asks. You wrap your arm around her. "No fire can do that," you whisper, "but it reminds the dark that we are still here." The rain comes gently this time, not in sheets, not in storms, but in a slow, steady rhythm, a whisper rather than a roar. It kisses the leaves, slides down the reed walls, pulls at the roots of the rice shoots, which now rise above the water like prayers grown green and tall. You sit beneath the eaves of the hut, watching the field breathe. The seedlings sway with each ripple, their reflections trembling in the shallow water. It is the same plot you broke your back to till, the same soil you bled into, cried into, buried her memory in, and now it grows. It is not lush, not thick, but it lives. Your son stands in the field's edge, sleeves rolled, feet sunk in the muck, checking water levels with a stick cut from the plum tree. He moves with purpose now. He no longer flinches at frogs or splinters. His hands are rough, his shoulders set. Your daughter is in the garden, crouched over a small bed of herbs, coaxing life from tiny seeds she saved from her mother's kitchen. She speaks to them when she thinks you can't hear. Little songs, little hopes. The green shoots are small, but strong. You rise and stretch. Your knees still ache. Your back still hums with the echo of years bent to labor. But today, the ache feels different. Not the gnawing of despair. The ache of use, of purpose, of having endured. You walk the edge of the field, checking the dikes. The mud holds. The water flows where it should. No sign of flooding. No signs of drought. Just balance for now. At the far end of the village, a group of children chase a paper kite. It dances between raindrops, dipping and rising, its string trailing like the tail of a comet. Their laughter rings down the path, bright as bells. A neighbor calls your name. You turn. He lifts a basket of bamboo shoots. You nod in thanks, bowing as he passes. He does the same. No words are needed, only the shared knowledge that the season has begun, that survival is still possible, that life somehow continues. At midday, you boil barley and sprinkle salt, just a pinch. The children sit cross-legged, bowls in hand, steam curling upward like incense. Your daughter adds scallions from her patch. Your son slurps his too quickly and burns his tongue. He laughs. So does she. So do you. After the meal, you open the small drawer beneath the hearth. The map is still there. The one the tinker left. Its folds are worn now, corners curling. You open it once more, trace the lines eastward, toward that valley of better harvests, toward freedom maybe. But you fold it again. Not today. The road is still there. But so is this home. And the soil here, for all its cruelty, its hunger, its silence, has taken your tears and given something back. The sky clears by afternoon. The sun presses through the clouds, light and golden, kissing the fields with a warmth not felt in months. The rice shimmers, the hills breathe, the village exhales. You kneel at the field's edge, press your palm to the mud, and whisper, not a prayer, not a plea, just a name. Her name? Because even in this season of growth, of new green and calm light, she remains. In the way your daughter stirs the pot, in the way your son walks the dikes, in the way your hands shape the earth, gently now, without fear, The wind rises. You close your eyes and feel it move through your hair, your sleeves, your breath. Another season begins. The soil is softer. The rain's more kind. Your back aches, but your heart is quiet. The wheel turns again. And you, tired, tested, but still standing, turn with it. As the last embers fade from this forgotten story, I hope it leaves a quiet warmth in your chest, like the final hush of rain after a long storm. If this journey moved you, or stilled something deep within, I invite you to subscribe, to return, to rest with us again. There are many more forgotten seasons waiting to be remembered. As the last embers fade from this forgotten story, I hope it leaves a quiet warmth in your heart, like a fire well tended on a winter night. If you found peace in these echoes of another time, subscribe and return whenever you seek stillness. Until then, may your soil be soft, your home warm, and your burdens light. What part of this story stayed with you the most? Could you have made it through such a winter? Would you have dared to follow the stranger's map?